On this fine Sunday morning, I am continuing with a similar video to last time, which is talking about the best epic in every single faction. I make the rules, so there are going to be a couple of ties on this list, but we're going to hop straight into it. Of course, this is similar to the last video I made, which was my favorite champion in each faction. So this one is just strictly going to be objectively kind of the best. Obviously, take it with a bit of a grain of salt because there are going to be different champions you need for certain areas, and you might not have all these, and somebody else might do the same role better on your account and all those sorts of good things. But for the most part, this is going to be an accurate list of who you can comfortably level up or who you want to save and empower on your account. We're going to hop right in with Banner Lords, and of course, the first one I'm going to mention is good old Stag Knight. This guy is fantastic. Decreased speed on the A1, decreased defense and attack on the A2, and an increased accuracy on an ally every time they miss a debuff, essentially. So a very, very cool champion there. And then this is actually a tie just to start off, which is going to be with Ursala the Mourner, who is probably either the first or second best epic reviver in the entire game. AoE revives 75% HP with a 50% turn meter, then also a increased defense and a strengthen makes this absolutely insane, especially on a 5-turn cooldown. Like, that is so strong for an epic champion. AoE decrease attack as well as a decreased turn meter on the A1. She is sensational. We're going to hop over to High Elves. The champion that I have here is probably going to be a surprise to no one. It is Royal Guard, still one of the best max HP nukers that we have in the entire game. Decreased defense A1. Enemy max HP AoE. Don't really worry about building him with too much attack or anything. He basically just does his damage based off the HP. Then, of course, a decreased speed quad hitter on the A3, which also has a 75% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter. So this guy is sensational for Fire Knight. Unfortunately, I didn't pull him until after I'd beaten basically all of the Fire Knight normal stages, but I'm fully convinced that this guy would have just made, very quick work of them. He is an incredible champion. We're hopping over to Sacred Order. This champion is going to surprise absolutely no one. I did a bunch of polls on my YouTube recently comparing all the epic revivers, and this champion won without a contest, and that is going to be Godseeker Aniri. So this was the community's choice essentially for the best epic reviver. She has a revive dead ally, fully resets their cooldowns. She attacks all enemies, heals everybody, increases the duration of buffs, decreases enemy buffs. She also increases the healing everybody receives, and she actually places a revive on death if somebody is about to die. This champion is frickin' awesome. I use her every day in my Sand Devil team. I use her in my Iron Twins team when I'm farming them. So many stages in Doom Tower. She is just absolutely fantastic. Definitely invest in her. Definitely save her if you have her. We have the Barbarians, which is actually going to be Farrakhan the Fat. So this guy is one of the few epic ally attackers that are actually worth their salt. He does bring a decreased defense on the A1, poison and HP burn on the A2, and then an increased crit rate and crit damage, and then all allies except this champion will attack one target. He keeps these up for 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown. Also a bit of survivability on his passive. Farrakhan is absolutely sensational. He definitely enables you to do a lot of content that you might not have been able to otherwise. And he does actually, as an end game or a late game player, he still makes it into my Fire Knight hard team for, farming stage 6 or stage 10, wherever you might be pushing it to. I do have a video on that. Make sure to check it out if you'd like. We have the Ogryn tribes. And I did actually pick Ugo. I was ragging on her a little bit in the last video, but Ugo is a very, very good champion. She has a leech on the A1, decreased defense and block buffs on the A2, and then of course removing all heal reduction debuffs on the A3, a little bit of a heal, and removing a random debuff as well. Plus, if everybody's dead, she actually has an AoE revive instead. If she's last in your team, she'll basically be able to get that off all the time because she places a block damage on herself whenever her last living ally is killed. So even if you get smacked with an AoE, as long as she's last in the order, she'll basically get the block damage and be able to revive for you, which is pretty crazy. So Ugo is definitely a very, very good champion. Next up, we have Lizardman, which really the only sensational epic in this entire faction is going to be Venomage. She has an AoE heal reduction of 100% as well as a double poison, so 2 5% poisons. The heal reduction is 100% uptime because this is on a 3-turn cooldown. She places it for 3 turns. Enemies under heal reduction debuffs inflict 15% less damage, just flat out 15% less damage, nothing you can do about it. She also brings in a decreased attack and a decreased defense on her A2, And then her A1 actually destroys the enemy max HP, and it also activates poison. So she's kind of like a pseudo Dark Kayle or something like that, which is pretty crazy. And then she also has an aura of accuracy in all battles by 45. So she was essentially just custom made in almost every single way to solo content, which is pretty fantastic. So definitely a great epic champion here. Oh, had to pop my neck a little bit there, excuse me. We have the Skinwalkers, and I think this is another faction that just doesn't really have a contest for who the best epic is, and that is going to be Akemptom. I talk about him a lot. I have a video on my channel of him speed farming stage 10 hard of spiders. He has a triple hit A1 with a poison. He has a hex on everybody on a triple hitter on the A2. He has a debuff spread on the A1, and then he's also duplicating any poison damage as well. So if somebody's under a hex and somebody takes a poison tick, he's going to actually duplicate that poison on everybody else. So if you have 10 poisons stacked up, that's like, what, 50% HP damage? He's going to duplicate that 50% across the entire team, which makes him so good for speed farming Spider hard. I use him in my Dragon team all the time. This guy is absolutely fantastic. He can basically duo a lot of content with a Poisoner. So for example, for Dragon Hard, I'm able to run him along with my Venomage and just duo through stage 6 and absolutely nail it every time. It's like 100% win rate. I might do a video on that at some point because this guy is sensational. Definitely the best epic there without question. Orcs, I don't use her anymore, but I'm still going to go with Seer. I think I have mine at like a +2 or something crazy like that. She has hands down the best AoE nuke ability on an epic, provided that you actually meet her prerequisites. So you're going to have a lot of buffs on your team. Buffs on the enemy team actually help out a little bit too, because her enemy max HP skill does increase according to how many buffs are on both teams. So you want to bring in some shield sets, some buffers like a Lydia or something like that, maybe an Arbiter in there. Basically just get a bunch of buffs on your team, absolutely demolish the wave, right? Like you don't even need to have decreased defense or weaken on the enemy team. As long as you have enough buffs, she's just going to rip it off and go straight through them, which is pretty crazy. I pulled her very late in my game though, so I think she had way less impact than she might have on some accounts, because I don't even use her anymore. I have Taurus, and he does basically the same exact thing, except he doesn't rip the buffs off, so his damage increases equal to the amount of buffs, but they stay, right? So he doesn't decrease them or anything like that. As a matter of fact, he increases their duration. Magnar is going to be my pick for the best epic inside the demon spawn. He's got this very cool like back on him, which looks pretty cool in my opinion. It's got like the kind of like screaming face there with some hands reaching out. It's pretty badass, honestly. Magnar is pretty much the best epic HP nuker. He has a double hit if they don't have an HP burn, then has a 50% chance of placing a stun if they're under a burn. His A3 also smacks. His A1 places decreased defense, and he of course heals himself anytime he takes a damage from somebody under an HP burn. Just build him out with a crap ton of HP, crit rate cap him, and build him with a crap ton of crit damage, and you're going to get a good experience with him inside the arena. Husk is without a doubt in my mind the best champion inside the undead hordes. So of course you could make a case for somebody like Seeker, who's instrumental in so many clan boss compositions, but now with the introduction of somebody like a Wixwell, we've definitely seen a reduction in the necessity of someone like a Seeker, I would say. So he has kind of fallen by the wayside a tiny bit. You could also make the case for somebody like a Gorgorab, who has the AoE revive. He has the ally speed, and then he also has an increased attack and all those sorts of good things. But Husk is the one that wins for me. Why is that? Well, he has a lot of utility for Hydra. He has a provoke on the A1 for dealing with that particular head. Enemy max HP hit with a chance of a stun on the A2 is sensational. If you're going through wave-based content and he can crowd control them, that is fantastic. If you're going through boss content and he can just nuke them, that is fantastic as well. Very competent champion for somewhere like the Magma Dragon as well. And then of course the A3 attacks one enemy, damage increases according to this champion's current HP. So a very good champion overall. He has a very nice kit, especially if you can get him empowered. I know some of the Sand Devil stages, for example, in City of Centranos are basically just 2+4 husks going at it, which is pretty crazy. Dark Elves is a bit of an interesting one. In my opinion, Dark Elves is very weak on epic champions. We have a couple of decent options in here. So for example, Durandil that can do damage, Dark Kayle that can place and detonate poisons and all that. But the champion I picked is actually going to be Sylar. Sylar is fantastic in my opinion. A1 just attacks all enemies. A2 attacks all enemies, places a decreased accuracy. And then A3 places decreased speed and decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 40%. Just a full-on 40% turn meter drop is sensational. And then she has an ally speed in all faction crypts by 22%. Fairly solid base stats as well, 105 speed, 18k HP. With the 2 AoEs, if you just go ahead and place her into a stun set or something like that, she's going to do absolute work. If you place her into a toxic set, she can be placing out poisons, of course. Any sort of crowd control effect like that, even if you place her into like a provoke set or something like that, she can still place those out pretty well. Of course, if you have her in the Cruelty Blessing these days, with all her AoEs coming out, she's going to basically just decrease the defense of the enemy team without really a question. So I think she is probably the best epic with inside the Dark Elves faction. You could definitely make a case for somebody like a Dark Kael. Madame Saris used to be, the best champion without question, and she's still a thumbnail champion. But I think she's been power crept significantly, especially with the introduction of Polymorph. We have another tie coming in for the Knights Revenant. So the first champion on the list is going to be Rector Drath, who is absolutely fantastic. She has decreased attack A1, AoE heal, as well as a perfect veil, as well as a continuous heal if they're less than 100% HP. Single target ally revive with 60% HP and 60% turn meter, as well as a perfect veil for 3 turns on a 4-turn cooldown is a very nice revive. And then, of course, the skill that used to make her incredibly slow is whenever somebody under a veil or perfect veil gets a turn, she heals them by 10%. Also increases the resistance of them by 50, which is pretty nice. That's certainly nothing to sneeze at. So if you're trying to get through hard content like Bommel or something like that, she can help out significantly with that boost. And then she has an ally resist in Doom Tower battles by 55. So basically just made for a lot of Doom Tower bosses. Fantastic champion. Only thing I would say is her HP is kind of low for a support champion. Defense is serviceable, and of course the speed is very, very good at 109 base speed as well. So she's going to be the best kind of support champion in the Knights Revenant, I think. And then the best damage dealer side of it is going to be Whisper. I just had to list these 2 champions on here because I think they are both absolutely fantastic. This champion has attacks one enemy 2 times, grants an extra turn if the target is under decreased defense and weaken. So just bring her with a Lydia, and you're done. You're good. Attacks one enemy. Plays an increased attack and a increased crit rate on this champion for 2 turns before attacking. That's on a 3-turn cooldown. If they have higher max HP, will ignore defense if the target is under a weaken buff. So just straight out ignores defense. Not 50% of it. Nope, nothing like that. Just straight up all defense is ignored. A1 has a 75% chance of placing a weaken, which is a very, very solid chance to place a weaken. And then the passive has an extra 10% chance of giving an extra turn whenever they land a critical hit. Increases damage inflicted on bosses by 20%. Now, I think this champion was actually a prime champion back in the day. I'm pretty sure everybody could get her. I do have a +1 Whisper on my account, and then I have another 6-star Whisper that I built out as well, so I do want to run double Whisper at some point, but she's absolutely sensational. As you can see from the waves, anywhere that you're trying to do like a single target boss killer, she is basically the way to go for epic champions. We have dwarves. There is no debate in my mind about who the best dwarf is, even though I think there's some very underrated ones in here. Like, I think Rearguard Sergeant is very serviceable. Rockbreaker's pretty decent. Melga is fantastic. I have a video about her. Geomancer obviously is pretty damn good as well, but I think Demytha is undoubtedly the best epic dwarf. And the reason for that is just what she enables you to do. So she can single-handedly, essentially, just enable your clan boss team to be unkillable. She can extend buffs, and she just brings unkillable for, like, your entire team everywhere, right? So you can make tunes for Iron Twins when they were ridiculously overtuned and nobody could beat them. Obviously, clan boss, she's super helpful even still somewhere in, like, Hydra. You see her run sometimes just to do that buff extension and everything like that. She's an incredibly tanky champion with 18k base HP. And almost 1300 base defense at a 102 base speed as well. So she can dish out some damage. She can take a hit. She is a sensational champion in my opinion. She only has the A1 that really hits though, so probably not really the best to build her for damage, but I do use her daily still in my clan boss team. I think she is without doubt the champion that deserves to be on this list. We have really one champion that I think stands head and shoulders above the rest inside Shadowkin. I just want to make a few shoutouts to Toragi, Hotatsu, Kunoichi, Nagorio, Gori. All these champions are very, very good. Genbo, of course. Taya has some use as well. But the champion that I picked is actually going to be Oboro. If you have Oboro, definitely make sure that you keep her. She has an attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance placing a decreased defense. This is like a It's a ridiculously high multiplier. I have an actual guide on her you can go and check out, but will attack all enemies instead if the target is under 4 or more debuffs. So she can just absolutely lay out a nuke. She is in one of my highest damaging clan boss teams as well, so I think that says a lot. So Hydra specifically. Attacks one enemy 2 times. The second hit has a 75% chance of transferring all debuffs from this champion to the target, so any sort of poisons or anything like that, you can use her essentially to reflect poisons inside Dragon and all that sort of good stuff. And the first hit has a 75% chance of stealing all buffs when attacking under a Veil or Perfect Veil. And then, of course, on her A3, she does bring that Perfect Veil on herself as well. And then she has a Revive on Death on herself for 3 turns whenever she receives a Veil or Perfect Veil. So if you combine this champion with somebody like a Rector Droth, you can quickly see how crazy that can get. Ally attack in dungeons by 33% as well is a very nice aura. Lastly, we have arrived at the Sylvan Watchers, and most of the people who've watched this channel a little bit, something weird going on with Daithe's hair there. Interesting. They missed some of it. The artwork's not done well. I just noticed that. But this is going to be Ruella. Ruella is a fantastic champion. I just made a video that talked a little bit in depth about her. I'll probably do an actual champion guide at some point, but she has a 100% chance of stealing at basically 15% of the turn meter on the A1. She attacks one enemy. She basically just straight up places decreased defense, weaken, and decreased speed, because each hit has a chance of placing all of them. And then she also fills your turn meter and gives you an increased crit rate for 2 turns with an accuracy aura in dungeons. She is sensational. She looks badass. She is a very, very cool champion. She might have some like scoliosis or something like that though, apparently. But apart from that, significant damage comes out of this champion as well if you have her built for damage. She has very good base stats, right? So 112 on the speed, 1300 attack. HP is a bit low, but it is what it is. She is an epic support or attack champion specifically. So she is definitely going to be the epic that I pick. Big shout outs though to Nia, who can enable your teams a lot. Aela, who has some interesting extra turn mechanics as well. Basically just a relentless set for your entire team. And then, of course, shout out to Creodin, who I don't have, and Daithee, who is a fantastic champion as well. That's going to conclude the video here, though. Do you agree or disagree with my rankings? Let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.